Мне не нравится газ, потому что он воняет, и он вредный. Ну, я начинаю кашлять, у меня кружится голова, живот болит. Я бы хотела жить в другом месте.
Today let me take you to the depths of Siberian Russia in a city called Norilsk. Built on the bones of slave prisoners of Gulag, now dubbed as the most depressing city in the world and the second worst city on earth, environmentally speaking at least. It's one of the most remote and isolated cities on earth since there are no roads that lead to or out of Norilsk. Literally. No roads. The only way in or out is by plane or by boat on the Arctic Ocean, if it's not frozen of course. However, its residents are proud to call it home.
Весь этот ужас, заводы, трубы, дым, когда нет солнца зимой. Это все очень красиво.
Now I want you to close your eyes and imagine this. You wake up on a cold winter morning. You have to get ready for work again. You may have to exit through the window again if there was a snowstorm at night. You go to the mine and when you come back it's already dark outside. Actually, it's been dark the whole day because the sun doesn't rise during the winters here. Norilsk is pretty much an isolated dystopia, like one you would read about in a book. Just look at that. It's some kind of post-apocalyptic type shit city. You see that and you think that White Walkers will appear or some freaking zombies. It is one of the most remote towns of the planet, located deep in the northernmost parts of Siberia, the Arctic Circle. Even though Siberia takes up 10% of the planet's land, it is one of the least populated areas on Earth, with only 7 to 8 inhabitants per square mile. And from what you've heard so far, you might be thinking that the population in Norilsk must be a few thousand people, but it's actually 175,000 people, or more like 175,000 heroes. The winter in Norilsk lasts almost 10 months, with temperatures dropping as low as -55 degrees Celsius. The average is -10 degrees Celsius, but still, that's kinda cold. But summers are pretty fine, the temperature is about 30 degrees Celsius. And of course, the sun doesn't rise for 45 days during the winter, so the nights never end. I don't know, maybe you are into stuff like that. But even if the sun did rise, it wouldn't make that big of a difference since there are dark toxic clouds constantly above them.
Но вот большинство людей не знает, что Норильск построен на костях.
On top of all that, the town has a more depressing past than what you would expect. It was built by prisoners of the Gulag who were forced to work all hours of the day in these dangerous sub-zero temperatures. And I mean they literally built the city, it was Arctic wilderness and they turned it into an industrial city with those Soviet-era apartment blocks, which look kinda cool if you ask me. But almost 17,000 of the slave prison laborers died under the cruel conditions while building the city. Of course, the total number of Gulag prisoners that died in the Soviet Union is about 1.7 million, and it is believed that many more died and we don't know the true number, but that's a whole nother story. Even though Norilsk is Russia's coldest and most polluted and probably most depressing city, it is also the richest because of the precious metals that are buried deep in that vast desert of snow. And that's why most of the workers there are miners. Almost everyone there works for the Norilsk Nickel Corporation, so it's pretty much like a de facto governing body there. However, the conditions are not that pleasant. The life expectancy of a worker in Norilsk is 10 years lower than a normal Russian worker. You might be thinking now, so why don't they protest or something, since the life expectancy is that lower and obviously the conditions are bad if not terrible. That's because Norilsk Nickel controls almost everything. You would be fired in an instant if you were to protest. Even if you don't work in the mines, Norilsk Nickel owns all nearby businesses. And why doesn't the Russian government do anything about this mess? Well, because this company is a golden goose. This one company is 1 to 2% of the Russian GDP. And to grasp that concept more easily, the whole city of San Francisco, with countless businesses and many huge companies based there, is 2% of the US GDP. So, one company, the whole city of San Francisco, I think you got my point. And if you're thinking things can't get any worse, you are absolutely wrong. The thing is that smelting of nickel has created crazy levels of pollution. It is actually estimated that 1% of global sulfur dioxide emissions come from Norilsk. When one city is responsible for 1% of something global, then things are not that good. Exposure to sulfur dioxide may cause irritation to the eyes, nose and throat. That's probably how many people there feel 24/7. The effects of the pollution are visible everywhere. I mean, they are literally visible. Something like New Delhi, very smog most of the times, acid rain and some weird biblical-like events. In 2016 a nearby river turned red overnight. If you're thinking how the freak is that even possible, I have no idea. The answer to that question was never found and I'm not even sure if it was properly investigated. However, it was suggested that the cause was a wastewater pipe leak from Norilsk nickel pumping out waste pollutants into the river. At this point, I'm pretty sure that you're thinking about a very reasonable question that every other person would ask. Why the hell do people even live there? Well, there are some reasons, and the most obvious one is money. The employment rate is high, as is the pay, therefore a lot of people move there, sometimes with their families, in order to save up some money and live more comfortably later, or maybe start something new. Another reason is underground life. What? Underground life? What is that? Well, because of the extreme temperatures, communal spaces, restaurants, cafes, malls and all that jazz are built underground. Even though we as outsiders may view this city as depressing and post-apocalyptic, the people who call this place home have a very different viewpoint. Sometimes beauty can be found in even the harshest of places. Oh, and if you're on something right now and wondering if you can visit that place, consider that back in Soviet-era Russia there were cities like this one that were considered closed to hide secrets and the cruel reality. And even though most of these towns are opened up again, some maintain that closed-off status. And Norilsk is one of them. There is a legal way to get to Norilsk, and that's by getting special permission by the Russian government. And there are some tours happening that can give you an opportunity to visit that place. I don't know why you want to do that, but good luck. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, you're an absolute legend and I freaking love you. Make sure to join the family and maybe even hit that like button, which would help a lot, not gonna lie. With all that being said, have a great rest of your day or night and I will see you next time.
Soreness in my eyes is not very surprising. This room is still uncharted. As soon as I get started, I'll send you an SOS. I'll wave like it's nobody's business.